program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. All right, thank you for joining us on the program today. The program is Dialogue in Diaspora, coming to you live from Ben Television. This morning we'll be going across two different topics. First, we'll be talking generally on issue of modern slavery and trafficking. And joining me in the studio to take a look at the challenges of dealing and combating modern slavery and trafficking is no any other person than the Commissioner, Independent Anti-Slavery Commissioner, Kevin Highland OBE, joining me in the studio this morning to take a look at the issue of modern slavery and trafficking. And much after that, we'll be going to Congo, and we'll be discussing Congo and the challenges of leadership. And joining me will be one of the senior activists on promoting good governance in the Congo region, and Beth Walsh will be joining me on the show today. And then shortly after that, we'll be going to Italy, where we'll be joined by Paolo Ciriali, our Italian correspondent. Will be joining us on the show to tell us some of the challenges happening around that region, especially as it concerns immigrants. And if we do have the time, we'll go to Nigeria and quickly take a look at issues around government and governance in that country. A lot to talk about on the show today. All I'm going to ask you to do is just join us. We're going to start the show. We'll open the phone line. As this is going to be interactive, you'll be able to join us. In the course of this program, the phone line is going to be put immediately on. Hopefully, you'll be able to get through. And then join us in this discussion about why do we have trafficking in Nigerians being trafficked across the desert, Libya, the ISIS, to Italy, and being abused, prostitution, and the rest of things like that. And some of them finding their way to the UK, engaged in modern slavery, kept in very servitude situation. What can be done? What do you think the Nigerian community, different associations can do to support the effort of the Independent Anti-Slavery Commissioner? And that we will be talking about on the show today. Joining me, Kevin Highland OBE. Kevin, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for coming on the show again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Since the last time you appeared on the show, your organization has been involved in. Tell us what has been the development from the last time you came on the show.
Sure. Well, I mean, one of the things that we spoke about last time was about developing a response to the issues in Nigeria and working with the Nigerian communities in Nigeria, but also here in the United Kingdom. And what has happened really is that we know that the migrant crisis and the issues of people travelling across the Mediterranean have escalated, and the numbers have got worse. And one of the things I've been doing is looking at that very closely, looking at the different groups. And one of the shocking things that I've identified is that in 2016, the International Organization of Migration identified that 11,000 Nigerian women arrived into Italy, having taken that very dangerous risk. 11,000. And
wow.
In addition to that,
just in 2016 only.
In 2016. Now that's an 8-fold increase on the numbers in 2014. But what also is shocking is the fact that 3,000 children, unaccompanied children of Nigerian origin, arrived also.
3,000?
Yeah, into Italy.
Unaccompanied?
Yeah.
How? Okay, go on.
So these figures are shocking. But what we need to do is to find a way of resolving this so that these people do not have to take these risks. And what we need to remember, and what we need to look at very carefully, is that the issue of trafficking and modern slavery isn't a Nigerian problem, it's a global problem. We have estimates that over 45 million people across the globe are trafficked. And the reason most of them are trafficked or exploited in forced labour is because criminals are earning money from the suffering of human beings. And whether that's in a factory that may be in Southeast Asia or in Latin America or in Africa or in the UK. We have had cases, there were convictions recently in Derbyshire where a sports factory had people working in their premises in modern day slavery, and the criminals were convicted of those crimes. So no country is actually not affected by this crime. But in respect of Nigeria, what we see is through that route up through North Africa, there are very well established criminal groups that go back, and as I've seen personally, when I went to Edo State and I met with many people there who were all, many were extremely well educated, very articulate, and they were explaining to me about the issues around criminals operating in Edo State and in Nigeria, and recruiting people with promises that they will go to greater wealth if they travel to Europe. And of course, as we know, many lose their lives, but when they arrive in Europe, many end up in exploitation. And you've only got to go to Italy, round the stations of Rome, where you will see children and young men and women who are suffering, living on the streets, and on occasions, and many occasions, being exploited sexually. So the issues are still very serious, but what I'm doing is I've made recommendations to the government, to the British government, about how we should address this with Nigeria and with the Nigerian community. I was very pleased towards the end of last year where Prime Minister Theresa May announced that there is a £5 million budget now available for addressing the issues in Nigeria and particularly in Edo State. So we're now looking at how that can be delivered, but we need to work with the Nigerian authorities, with the Nigerian community, because they will have the experience and knowledge on the ground and will make this a success, so that we do start to eradicate this and give the communities the ability to prevent themselves from being harmed, but also the reasons to stay.
I mean, my viewers will find this very shocking. In 2016 only, 11,000 women trafficked across different routes to Italy, despite what people see on the TV, the danger, the crisis, the drowning. And then we'll talk about 8% fold increase. Why? That's over 2014. Why?
Well, I think that it's happened because it's a crime of choice now, and the criminals are earning lots of money out of this.
But what about the people themselves? I mean, 11,000 women, that's a huge number undertaking this perilous journey. 11,000 women. What from your own work, what is it that will make anybody want to take on such a journey, despite what we see daily?
Well, the way that I see it, and having spoken to people in Edo and met with many mothers and people whose children are suffering there, is that obviously information is available to people in Nigeria and some of the more rural parts of Nigeria. People have iPhones, people have access to in the internet, and the criminals can use that to exploit people. They can make promises, they can tell them, we will make sure you are wealthy, you have got opportunities when you arrive in Europe or en route, because there is a lot of trafficking across Africa as well. But what they do is they lure people, and once they've got them hooked, once they get them debt bondaged, once they say to them, you owe us something, and in order to release yourself, you've got to do certain things, they have them hooked. And then there is the fear of going back to the family back home. And then there's also an added complexity, which is around juju and spells that are cast on some of the, particularly the women that are travelling, the young girls. So there are a whole raft of measures. But one thing I did see is, and I mentioned it to you last time, I met a mother who was in Edo, and she explained to me that her first son was taken and he died at the hands of the traffickers, and she gave all her wealth to get her second son back so that he could come back home and be alive and be with her. And what she said to me is, you people in Europe, you need to do something about this. You need to stop us coming. You need to give us the information about the risks, because my son is dead because he thought he was going somewhere to be better. and to have a better life. And clearly that's not going to happen. So I think some of it is, you know, people see the opportunity or what they see as opportunity, and the message isn't getting back to them. Well, actually, you know, the risks you're taking way outweigh the potential benefits. And actually, when you get to Europe, there are no potential routes for you because you will become undocumented in most cases and at very high risk of exploitation. Now, of that 11,000 women, you know, the routes are controlled by smugglers and traffickers, and of course they're different. Smuggling is different to trafficking. But the International Organization of Migration estimate that 80% of those women are actually trafficked and have been exploited in some way or other, and are going on to further exploitation, whether that's in forced labour or in sexual exploitation once arriving in Europe. Now that is a shocking number of people, but when you look at that 11,000 number and the 3,000 children, and that's without mentioning the boys and the men, the men, because the boys are included in the third three.
Without the men included in this number.
How much money are the traffickers and smugglers making? How much money are they making? And a slightly different subject, but when I was in Greece and I met Syrians who were fleeing conflict, they were paying a lot of money to people with boats, and that's a much shorter journey that they were taking across from Turkey to Greece. But they were paying, you know, thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for access to that passage on a vessel. And that is what is happening from Libya to Italy. So therefore, it's a choice, it's a crime of choice, and the networks of criminality are very well operating or very well coordinated. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody in Edu knows somebody who is based in London, but they will have a loose network where a phone call may go in and say we need another woman to staff a brothel, or we need another person for domestic servitude. And the thing is that, you know, I don't think that the people coming, they do realise, some of them, that there is potentially exploitation or suffering, but they don't realise what it's going to be like. And certainly, you know, they don't ever really expect to lose their lives. And when you look at the videos that I've seen of the Italian Coast Guard rescuing these vessels, the Italian Coast Guard are some of the bravest people I've ever met. Their dedication is unbelievable. But when a boat capsizes right in front of them, particularly if there's children in there, the frogmen can't get down quick enough to rescue the children and throw them into the boats. And you will see videos whereby they are just going down, picking up children and launching them like a basketball into the vessels. But there are so many that lives are going to be lost. And the head of the Coast Guard told me that even if they pull alongside a vessel and it capsizes because people stand up to celebrate because a vessel's arrived, lives will be lost. So they have changed their tactics, that they send out advance parties so that they can tell people to sit down, but the excitement, sometimes they still stand up. And of course, some of these boats that come over, there are terrible images I've seen of a boat that should carry about 40 people, and yet in the hull there was over 100 people and another 100 on top. And this is happening on the seas, and we need to get that message back to Nigeria. But what we also need to do, and that's what I'm asking the international community to do, is let's help Nigeria. Let's help places like Edo State, that's got so much potential, so many resources, so many intellectual and bright people, so many young people with a future. If we help to develop Nigeria, then people will lose the reasons to leave. If we then pursue the criminals there, so we improve the working relationships with the agencies looking at trafficking, and we bring the criminals to book, no matter where they are. If they're in London, if they're in Paris, if they're in Lampedusa, if they are in Sicily, or if they're in Benin City or in Lagos or Abuja. If we bring all those people to book and we make sure they go to prison, then that sends the message out, this isn't a crime to do.
What effort is the government, both, let's start with your organization, doing to ensure that justice takes its course on these criminal gangs?
So in the United Kingdom, we've got what's called the Modern Slavery Act, which introduced my role as the independent anti-slavery commissioner. The legislation is very tough. And if we look recently, a 38-year-old Nigerian woman was sentenced to 22 years imprisonment for trafficking Nigerian girls through Heathrow Airport. Some destined for the UK, some destined for mainland Europe. But she got 22 years imprisonment and is stripped of all her assets. So it shows the legislation and the drive to pursue those criminals is now there. But we need it, we need it internationally. So in the UK, we've got new legislation. We've got a process where victims are better supported and will get compensation where appropriate, so they can go and rebuild their lives. Back in Nigeria, if that works and is in the best interest of that individual. So the British government has then included our international development. So we now have a sustainable development goal at the United Nations, and that now includes eradication of modern slavery over the next 15 years. So our international development budgets are now available for this. And we've seen our government's put 33.5 million recently towards this issue for upstream projects, so in countries of origin, and 5 million of that is allocated specifically for Nigeria, including Edo State. And we're working and looking at how that should be allocated at the moment. So there's a lot going on, but then we have to work with your organisations and your different agencies in Nigeria so that we can bring the prosecutions better. And I have met, with our Prime Minister at the United Nations General Assembly last year. We had a meeting which was attended by President Buhari and 2 ministers from Nigeria, and we had discussions about how we can develop this. So I'm very keen to work with the Nigerian authorities, to work with the Nigerian law enforcement and the trafficking agency, but also importantly, and I think this is crucial, that we work with the communities. Because once the communities don't tolerate this, once the communities say to the people there, their children, their brothers and sisters, their uncles and aunts, their mothers and fathers, that this isn't acceptable, we will start to see a change. And that can be actually involving the churches, the government, the business community, and also all the other influential academics and so forth that are in Nigeria.
I was just about asking you that, your strategies for engaging the Nigerian communities in the UK. I'm aware there are quite a lot of diaspora organizations in the UK, in London specifically, and across the whole of UK that are doing their bits and well to some extent. But these are private efforts. Is your organization identifying some of these organizations, Nigerian organizations, engaged in this kind of campaign to work with them and give them some kind of support? Are you?
Yes, we are. And last week I met with Africa, who I meet with regular, and they are probably one of the most active organisations, and they've supplied me with some recommendations that they have, because obviously they understand the Nigerian community. And the chief executive officer is Nigerian and understands Nigeria fully. So yes, we are. But also, I'm working with the organisations like the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, because they have very large diaspora communities, and how we can start giving them information and bringing responsibility. So, for example, now the Catholic Bishops' Conference in England and Wales has got a Nigerian priest who is now there specifically for dealing with the diaspora community in the UK of Nigeria and Africa. So we are going to see a step up there of what's happening. I've also just recently engaged with 2 universities, one St Mary's in West London, in Twickenham, and they are doing research, and they held a conference recently, and at that were representatives of the Nigerian diaspora, including Africa. And then also I've been working with Nottingham University, who are looking at all the research that is taking place across the UK, so then we can see where the gaps are, because I want to make sure we're doing something specifically about the Nigerian aspects. But I have done a report that I submitted to the government about what I think is required, and hopefully we will get some concrete answers on that very soon, so that we can start delivering projects. We do often talk a good game about eradicating modern slavery, but what I keep saying is I want to see action, and that action needs to help the people of Benin City, of Edo State, of places around the world where they are being victimized because of their vulnerability, and they are being traded for other people elsewhere in the world.
If you're watching this program, I've been talking with Kevin Ireland, the anti-slavery, independent anti-slavery commissioner, working on combating modern slavery and trafficking around the globe, with looking specifically at how to tackle this problem from the Nigerian angle. He just told us now that in 2016 there was 8% increase in the number of Nigerian women trafficked to Italy. That is 11,000, and 3,000 unaccompanied children. That is alarming. Kevin, let's talk about these 3,000 unaccompanied children. What on earth will make a mother or a parent or parents? First, when you talk about these unaccompanied children, what age are we looking at?
Well, the ages vary. So it can be someone up to 17, but the ages do vary. And you know, some of the cases, not just Nigerian, but when we look at unaccompanied minors, many of them will lose their parents or their guardian en route. So it may be that they've left home with the guardian or the parent, but because somebody has died, somebody's got lost, somebody has taken the child. There are so many ways that the child can become detached from the family unit. And of course, then when they arrive at ports, when they arrive in Libya, for example, where there are the collecting houses, then they become a really good commodity. And when I was in Italy, I met 3 Nigerian boys who were all probably about 13 or 14, and they had been promised that they would play for some of the best football teams in Spain. Some of the best, the 2 best names in Spain. They were promised that's where they were destined to, and they were going to play there. However, they had been given a telephone number to ring, and that was it. That was the whole process of being recruited. This was a fake story they were given. It was all lies in order to recruit them into Europe, and then you've got young boys who are available for whatever you want: forced labour, sexual exploitation, or other abuse. And clearly, you know, young boys will not develop properly if they are allowed to live in the streets. Now, the Italians are doing a fantastic job about recovery and about first response at what are called the hotspots. But the international community needs to come and help them because there are so many people arriving. But what we do need to do, and not just in respect of Nigeria, but from other countries around the world as well, is go to the heart of where these issues are happening and start to make sure that countries are developed and that these exploitation stop. And you know, one of the things our legislation brought in was supply chain transparency. So under our laws, under Section 54 of the Modern Slavery Act, every company that trades over 36 million in the UK has to produce a statement on the front of its website showing what they have done to eradicate modern slavery from their supply chain. Now that's 17,000 companies in the UK, and many, many companies have done their statements. The vast majority have, and what we are starting to see is a change in the culture of business, a change in the culture of the way that they do things. And many a year ago would have said to me, it's really hard to tell where our people are working. Well, many may have seen the film last week, which was about mica, which is actually a material which we use in makeup, which we use in wallpaper, which we use in shiny cars to make the nice paint. And it's being mined by children as young as 10, 11 and 12. Now, the news journalists could find that and went and found those mines in Asia. Well, if they can find it, so can the companies that are making millions and billions a year out of the profits. And some of the companies are doing that now. There's no excuse for any of us to benefit from child exploitation, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in America, wherever it is. None of us want to see children exploited for our benefit. And I'm afraid that is happening all too often at the moment.
If you're watching this program, hopefully the studio will be able to open the phone line. I guess they will be able to open the phone line. You can join us in this discussion. Let's have your opinion. we hope you'll be able to get through. Let's have your opinion on what is going on and how you think this very situation can be brought to check. But before we open the phone line, we're going to quick short break. When we come back, Kevin is still in the house. We'll continue the program. But let's go on a very short break now. We'll be back. Don't go away. Ben TV presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon.
It's time to own your own properties at any of these cities: Abeokuta, OPIC, Abuja, Sam Nujoma and Orozo, Lagos, Lekki, Port Harcourt, TAF Gardens. Key Right with major developers and state agencies can make your dream come true. Property and flats start from just £15,000. We can also provide you with property exchange. For more information, please visit www.keyright.co.uk.
The Commonwealth Day service is one of the most recognised events in the Commonwealth calendar, which prominently has in attendance Her Majesty the Queen, other members of the royal family and heads of the government from across the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth Africa Summit, which holds alongside the Commonwealth Day service, is fast becoming one of the most recognised events that promotes the interests of Africans in the Commonwealth. From a series of high-level meetings on topical issues, workshops and business networking events, the summit promotes intra-Commonwealth collaboration for sustainable development and inclusive growth in a new era of globalisation. We invite you to join us at the Commonwealth Africa Summit from the 13th to the 15th of March 2017 in the historic city of London. Visit www.casevents.org/CAS 2017 for more information or to register.
We have faith. The Nollywood will set new records for filmmaking all over the world, not because of our past glories,
but because of the evolution of a generation of filmmakers who have been forged in the arena of professional film education with an understanding that film is an ideal catalyst for change.
Through a combination of quality, training, and mentorship, the vision of these trailblazers will shape 20 thought-provoking short films on social justice and the signature feature film such as the African film industry is yet to experience.
This is what HDFA seeks to achieve through the 2017 Script to Screen Africa Filmmaking TV Reality Project, and we welcome you to be a part of this trailblazing experience. Enroll as a student, be a sponsor, partner with us.
Script to Screen Africa 2017, film as a catalyst for revolution.
Bavidi Luxury Hotel, the newest home away from home in the Nigerian hospitality industry. 10 minutes only from the local and international airports. It's the perfect spot for your relaxation whenever you're in Lagos. 24-hour non-stop electricity, cozy and colorful rooms, Wi-Fi internet connection, and flat-screen cable television. Bavidi Luxury Hotel. Our exquisite restaurant and full bar are simply second to none in taste and style. Bavidi Luxury Hotel. We are located at the posh, serene neighborhood in the Ikeja Business District. Your satisfaction is our first concern, so we train our staff to be professional and personable. Bavidi Luxury Hotel, number 20 Moshood Abiola Crescent, Ikeja, Lagos. Telephone +234 1291 7929 +234 708 287 7512. Bavidi Luxury Hotel, the new home away from home.